So there's nothing worse than being confident you've got everything under control, only to be shaken awake by the fact that you don't. On my 5th flight out of formal training, I went for my longest flight yet, a whopping 5 miles out to a lake and back. Sort of a big deal for me in my experience level, considering that I was going by myself. But nonetheless, I felt confident. It was a beautiful sunset and the weather was smooth despite a 10-mile-per-hour surface wind. Everything felt perfect for me all the way to the lake. But sure enough, once I ended up reaching the lake, the wind striations and the occasional white cap on the water made my error blatantly clear. I immediately whipped a Yui and found myself parked. And after a significant period of absolute panic and a mental slideshow of worst case scenarios, I began thinking through the solution. Flying as low as I could where the wind speed would be just a touch weaker, I was able to make it back to the landing zone with 3 minutes till legal and truly fumes in the tank. Needless to say, I was humbled. I didn't consider future Micah and was so tunnel visioned on navigating to the lake that I didn't realize that I was swimming downstream first. The lesson, other than to go upwind first, was that I still have a lot to learn before I feel invincible. And in fact, to this very day, with over 1,000 hours of flying, I still feel this way. My vision for this video is to break down some pilot psychology and hopefully bring awareness to some mental pitfalls that you may be struggling with, whether you're conscious of them or not. So the tool I'm gonna be using today is known as the Confidence versus Competence grid, and we're gonna break down each quadrant today, taking a wide focus with the scope and how they relate to you and your journey towards birdhood. So go ahead, bump that like button for me, subscribe if you'd like to, and without further ado, let's get into it. So let's take a look at this grid and its categories, and I will add my thoughts in each quadrant. And the first square here is labeled Unconfident and Incompetence. So this would describe someone that is brand new to the sport. They really do not know anything. Maybe they've watched a few Tucker vlogs, but when it comes to the actual operation of a paramotor, they really don't know up from down. Additionally, someone in this category might be experiencing some apprehension getting into the sport, wondering if they really have what it takes, either mentally or physically or both. And additionally, someone that is brand new to the sport likely has a little bit of a buffer between where they are now and experiencing irrational fear, which can be crippling in the sport. So having a good instructor will really help you keep that buffer there, as they are going to talk you through every single step of the process in order to get you to that final quadrant of confident competence. But we have a couple more phases to get through before the confident competence phase. So let's go ahead and go on to our unconfident and competent phase. So a pilot in this category, say they've got between 5 and 20 hours of experience, is starting to see regular success in his efforts. The reaction time is starting to improve as the prefrontal cortex is able to relax a little bit and your muscle memory is starting to take over. And accompanying this is a feeling of getting it in a way. You're starting to understand through the feeling of the motions. But oftentimes I've seen in this time frame, there is a lack of confidence. In other words, the prefrontal cortex is still thinking through what you're doing, and oftentimes this leads to doubt or irrational fears. Maybe you're finding yourself consistently second guessing a decision you've already made, or just feeling afraid that you've made the wrong decision. But in reality, you're doing everything just fine. You just need to take a deep breath. If this describes you and you want to move forward from this, as you should, I have a few suggestions for you. First, I'd like to start by saying that if you are experiencing fear in the air, this is actually a good thing, hence the term healthy fear. I wouldn't be too hasty to get rid of fear altogether, but I'll comment more on this in just a bit. But the best thing I can suggest to someone dealing with excessive doubt or irrational fear is to start verbalizing everything you do to yourself, either on the ground or in the air. Putting thoughts to words helps in a couple of ways that I have observed. The first is a buffer of time that is placed between the thought and the action. And so the time it takes you to actually verbalize your thoughts tends to slow the pace of action down enough for your brain to catch up with yourself. If you've got the good habit of keeping plenty of altitude, there is lots of time to think, verbalize, and then act. So this will really help with your confidence, especially if you are someone that tends to fluster easily while in the sky. Another benefit to the verbalization method is that you're filtering your thoughts to yourself, and in doing so, enabling more decisive action. I'm not a neuroscientist, I can't tell you how this actually works, but there is something about hearing yourself talk to either give you the confidence in executing it or to rethink the idea. Another strategy that you hear me rave about all the time is to take a deep breath. I say it at the end of every single video for a reason. Taking a deep breath helps in too many ways to list, but in the context of being underconfident, it will slow your heart rate down, lower your blood pressure, and aid in providing clarity of thought. Anytime at all that you feel tension either before a flight or during, just force yourself to take a 4-second long inhale with a slow release. I promise it'll work wonders for you. So we are halfway through the grid now, and we're about to move into what I think is the most important quadrant to talk about. But first, I want to give a shout to the sponsors of this video that are pilots just like yourself that believe in the message and mission of this channel. Without these generous people right here, this video would not have been possible. So if you're interested in joining the growing list of supporters, go ahead and click on the first link down below. There you'll be guided through the very easy process of creating an account and subscribing to Lifted PPG on Patreon. End commercial. Our third quadrant here is going to be the dangerous category of confidence incompetence. A pilot fitting this category may be anywhere between 50 and 200 hours or so. So still fairly new, but they're starting to see regular success that is maybe bolstering their confidence a little too much while still having a lot yet to learn. So this pilot is likely obsessed with the sport, with their Instagram feed chock full of experienced pilots performing stunts way above their skill level, but it looks possible to them. And he may often let this inspiration encourage him out of his comfort and ability zone more often than is safe. And worse yet, he may get away with it unscathed and ego stroked. Not a great situation. And then let's say next time he goes out, he tries the same maneuver again, but this time going a little bit deeper into those controls, this time suffering a major asymmetric collapse and potentially a reserve toss. Not to mention the need for a change of pants as well. Or in my case, the need to consider which way the bloody wind is blowing before you go on your longer cross-country flight. Confident incompetence is a bad recipe. Period. End of story. And the best way to survive this phase of piloting is through honest humility. And actually, now that I think about it, I wouldn't consider this to be a phase of piloting that we go through, but something we are constantly battling to stay ahead of ourselves and our ego and stay alive to the point where we reach this confident and competent phase of our journey. And this is where fear finds its purpose. With a healthy fear, it'll keep us in check to not get too overconfident and still remain in our zone of competence. So I encourage you to consider that while everything is going perfectly smoothly during your baby wingovers, there is a bear lurking in the shadows that is begging you to poke it. Don't poke it. And our final quadrant here of confident competence, we have made it to the zone of enlightenment, maybe sort of kind of. The pilot in this category knows her limitations, she knows the objective, and she is confident in her ability to execute. She has a plan before she even launches on where she intends to fly, how she is going to fly, and the variables to consider, including fuel consumption and weather. And then while she is flying, she is sticking to this plan within reason while still remaining flexible enough to account for any of Murphy's laws that may pop up. And she is vividly aware of her shortcomings bestowed to her by her past experiences with overconfidence. This is the goal, the physical skill overlapping one-to-one with our mental confidence, while keeping in the back of our mind that there is always more to learn. While this sport is a dangerous one, I believe that my awareness of my mental and physical shortcomings unlocks in a way the ability for me to really play an adventure with confidence. I really hope this video helps you do the same. And what I would recommend is that you pencil out this same grid and include what would describe you as a pilot in each category. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. I love connecting with you guys there. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching till the end. And while I still have you here, why not check out the next video? Either of these should suit your fancy. This is Lifted PPG. My name's Micah Stevens. Don't forget to take that deep breath, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.